Mm-hmm. And for
And that's
me,
what I gathered.
it's part therapy. Let's
Hmm.
go. And to borrow from you, Tuesday Cole Sports is live in the afternoon, so y'all need to check it out. We're getting our video coordination done, and there I am. You hear Cole? I borrow from you shamelessly. Tuesdays means two words: tone deaf, and that describes Aaron Rodgers.
Boy, does that ever.
You know, you get sick and tired of seeing and hearing people make excuses for certain players. One we will discuss tomorrow and try not
Of
to mention
course.
today.
Hmm.
I am tired of people making excuses for one Aaron Rodgers. It needs to stop now. Yesterday, I spoke on the slander that comes Jimmy G's way, needing to stop. Will y'all please stop making excuses for Aaron Rodgers? Because after listening to a couple of shows and their openings, there is something I did not point out, but I'm going to point it out here. Aaron Rodgers doesn't take football relationships well at all.
You can scratch football out of that equation.
Thank you. Thank you. He doesn't take relationships well at all.
Mm-mm.
And that led to his demise in the NFC divisional playoff. Here's what I mean. We touched on it yesterday, but we're going to dive deep today. Mercedes Lewis fumbled a reception, fumbled a pass from Aaron Rodgers.
Oh, Mercedes.
Alan Lazard wasn't in the right spot for Rodgers to deliver the football. A.J. Dillon didn't receive any targets. What's all that mean? He doesn't trust them. And if you think about it, he hasn't trusted them all year. The only one out of those three that I mentioned is Lazard that he kinda trusted. When you build relationships with people and build trust with people, they tend to lean on you. There was one pass. There were quite a few, but there was one pass in particular in the fourth quarter where Rodgers was targeting only one person, and you know who that person is.
Hmm. Looked his way all night long.
Alan Lazard was running free on the left side of the hash marks. He didn't even look at him. After Mercedes Lewis fumbled a reception on the second drive of the game, never looked this way again. Alan Lazard didn't even look his way once in the second half. Not once. And all that goes on to relationship building. You know, when you're trying to acquire some assets, when you're trying to, and Aaron Rodgers was the story all summer long. It got very
Yes.
nauseating. It got very, very, very nauseating.
Will the Packers trade him? Where does Aaron Rodgers want to go? What is the relationship between him and the Packers front office?
And you said the key word.
Uh,
You said the
Relationship.
key word: relationships. There was,
Gosh.
it was so nauseating that I almost physically threw up one day.
Oh, oh yeah. Speaking of relationships, how was the relationship between Aaron Rodgers and Matt Lafleur? It's just,
Mm-hmm. You
I
know
could
what's
care
bad?
less about this
You
guy.
know what's bad? The team that beat him, they questioned those relationships for 2 years, last year and this year.
Hmm.
When will Trey Lance see the field? It's Trey Lance's time. Why don't you give him the time, Kyle Shanahan? Why am I tying this into it? Because Kyle Shanahan went with the guy he trusted.
And also went with the guy that's more experienced.
Mm-hmm. Now, what people need to understand, this is nothing against Trey Lance, but Trey Lance hasn't played football in 2 years.
Right. And people forget he did not play.
Exactly.
A full year before he got drafted. People forget that.
He only played one game. And that was a show-off game anyway. And he didn't do well.
Yeah.
And everyone came to me because I'm the world's biggest 49er fan going, you see, they took a quarterback. Okay, do you know why? Do you really understand why they made such a move? Excuse me. Still have a bit of a cold here. Well, let me explain this and tie in the tone-deaf Aaron Rodgers to it. They took a guy they can develop for the future. Develop. Okay? When Bill Walsh, the late great Bill Walsh, acquired Steve Young, they wanted to develop him into a quarterback. They don't want him running around all the time, which is what he did in his early days with the San Francisco 49ers. Hell, he did that with the Los Angeles Express, and the USFL's coming back this year. Mm-hmm. He did that with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, ran for his life,
literally,
a la Doug Williams, before he got plucked by Joe Gibbs. And Doug Williams developed relationships with, let me see if you recognize a few of these names, sir. Ricky Sanders, Gary Clark, Don Warren,
yes,
Clint Didier, one of my favorites of all time. You know him well, Mr. Art Monk.
Correct.
And there's a group of people he really needed to develop a relationship with. What's that group's collective name?
The H, the O, the G, the S.
The Hogs, the offensive line.
Yeah.
Now, Williams had as quick a release as Aaron Rodgers did. Difference being, the Hogs gave him time. The 49ers offensive line gave time to both Joe and Steve Young.
People, and I'm glad you touched on that aspect.
I mean, you played the position. I've covered football for 20 plus years. You and I both have. In different aspects of journalism, we've covered football for a quarter of a century, about 50 years between us.
People gloss over the important symbiotic relationship a quarterback needs to have with his offensive line.
Don't they always?
Yeah, they do. They always do. And well, this is so funny. So of course, we're going to eventually talk about Joe Burrow. And, and how people will probably say, well, and I was hearing those types of rumblings there. It was like, well, the game that offensive line had Saturday, that shows that they don't trust Burrow. But
that's actually wrong, but we'll dive into that.
Yeah.
We'll dive into that.
Yeah. That was a slight purposeful tease. Because being that I played on offensive line, I know the difference. That offensive line, I'll just go with the Hogs.
Please touch on the Hogs.
That offensive line, man, they love blocking for Joe Theismann. They even like blocking for Mark Rippon later on.
Yeah.
But
what was the name they carried all through that era of Joe Gibbs? The Hogs.
The Hogs. But but I tell you, they had Jay Schrader and Doug Williams at the same time in 1987, and I could tell even with my young eyes back then, I could tell
Mm-hmm.
that the line did not trust Schrader.
No,
Did not trust him at all.
no,
Because
no.
they thought he was full of it. They thought he was arrogant, and they thought he was better than everybody else in the offense, including offensive line.
And he thought just because he was from Southern California that he
Mm-hmm.
was just going to come in and take over, which
Yeah,
led to
just win the
him
job. Yeah, just take over and win the job. Right.
which led to him being dealt to the, at the time, Los Angeles Raiders.
Right.
So
Doug Williams, on the other hand, those 5 men looked at him and they saw one of their own in him. And
yes,
normally, when a line sees that's a guy that can relate to them, they will go through walls for him.
that line,
And they did that.
that offensive line for Washington in 1987. I'm going to try to remember the best part for me for the Washington Redskins was the offensive line. You know, you and I both relate.
It was.
For Williams, it was, let me go left to right here. Joe Jacoby at left tackle, Raleigh McKenzie at left guard, Jeff Bostic at center out of Clemson.
Oof, awesome center.
R.C. Tillman and Mark May out of Pittsburgh. Left to right on the offensive line.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, and a little tease for later this week. 50 gut was the magic play in 1982. 50 gut was the magic play. We'll explain that later this week.
Times.
Yep.
I love it.
We'll explain. We'll dive into that later this week, and as we build toward the Super Bowl.
But to tie this into Mr. Rodgers, you saw how I described Jay Schrader, correct?
Yes, sir.
You mentioned what state was Schrader from?
Oh, California.
Mm-hmm. So I know it's a different part of the state, but what state is Mr. Rodgers from?
California.
And what type of attitude does Mr. Rodgers have?
Nose in the air. I'm better than you. His comment when the 49ers didn't draft him. How sad are you? The question went, quote, how sad are you that your team, the 49ers, didn't draft you? His response was, and I borrow from you, kind sir, quote, not as sad as they're going to be for not drafting me. Close quote. Well, Mr. Rodgers, on behalf of every 49er fan that I know and have come to know, we're glad we didn't draft you. Because as accomplished as you are in the regular season.
Yeah, one of the best regular season quarterbacks of all time.
Period. Not going to shy away from that. Not going to shy away from that at all.
Can't do it.
As great as you are during the regular season, and I know I'm climbing into your head. We think too much alike. My wife even said this to me. As great as you are during the regular season, during the postseason, you got some problems. And that offensive line of the 49ers that beat you on Saturday would not have trusted you, especially Pro Bowl, All-Pro center Alex Mack, especially All-Pro and Pro Bowl left tackle Trent Williams.
Now, you dip your toe into the past with Mr. Rodgers. Let me dip my toe in the past real quick with him, too. So he gets drafted by the Packers in 2005, and you already basically put forth the quote that typifies the arrogance that he's always had.
Yes.
So for the following 4 years, he sits on the bench. He looks at future Hall of Famer Brett Favre play.
And as much of a Packer fan that I'm not, loved Brett Favre.
Oh, I
loved Brett Favre from the heart. Loved Brett Favre, even though he got the best of the Bears and he got the best of my beloved 49ers. He except for one time, he always got the best of my 49ers. And that started in 1995 when he outdueled another Hall of Famer in Steve Young. I'm sorry, continue, sir.
No problem. No problem. All that time when Rodgers was sitting on the bench, he kept thinking, well, I know I'm better than this guy.
Yep.
I know I'm better than this guy.
Mm-hmm.
So he thought he should have been he of course thought he should have been anointed the number 1 overall draft pick.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
So when that went out the window, he's like, okay, well then some team's gonna get me. And of course when he slid past into the lower part of the first round,
right,
he felt slighted. So
quite slighted.
This guy, so this guy came out of Berkeley thinking that he should be first game, rookie season, regular season, starting quarterback on the team.
Yeah.
That is how he thought.
It even took Montana part of 1980. It took Montana part of 79. It took all of 79 because he was playing behind Steve DeBerg. And it took part of 1980 for Montana to be installed as the quarterback of the future. It took a horrific injury to Montana for Steve Young to be installed as the quarterback team leader. Continue, please.
No problem. So he waits the 4 years. He finally gets this position that he feels as though should have been ordained to him and given to him on a silver platter.
Well.
And then he proceeds to show us that he is a very talented quarterback. He definitely has the goods.
Yes, he does.
And to say he doesn't would be a fallacy of football fallacies.
Would be just plain, let me use your word, would be just plain foul.
Yeah, foul. Just plain foul. But throughout the time that he has been the starting quarterback for the Packers, you listen to all the stories that you've heard, how in his dating relationships, he seems to not have a strong way to relate. In his familial relationships, there's rift. So
that's been true since he was anointed the start. That's been true since Green Bay took him.
Yeah. So if we're talking about a guy who has issues dating and has issues with his family,
preach, please.
Do you think that does not translate onto the football field, and especially, and this is where I'm going back with the offensive line, especially the 5 guys he should trust more than anybody else on that football team? Offensive linemen can sense that, they can smell it. And
from
when they see that a guy
back,
and then when they see a guy who's full of it, they will not block as hard.
They back off.
And then when they see him believe his own press clippings of, well, he can scramble, he can dodge would-be pass rushers and still throw darts. And when people talk about the team as, well, this is Rodgers and everybody else, offensive linemen, and most of them to a unit are humble, they are intelligent, and they are to themselves, but they respect another man who is behind center.
Correct.
If they do not respect the man who's behind center, they will basically lead you to the wolves.
5
and
sacks.
There's been many instances all throughout his career, and we saw it Saturday night where that's the case.
5 sacks, ladies and gentlemen. 5 sacks. We're off and rolling here on this Tuesday edition of Snowman in the Morning. Gonna pause for a break, but when y'all get back, I hate to say this, but I'm going to say it. This is the end of the Green Bay Packers as we know it. And before you dip into your notes, Cole, there's a song that's in my head, and I will let you reveal that song when the good people get back. This is Snowman in the Morning on Real Wise Radio and YouTube, and 24 hours a day at snowmaninthemorning.com.
A gut-wrenching, heartbreaking defeat. There's a little high pull down by Wisnowski. Robbie Gold has it.
This is Mario Andretti. You know me as a race car driver, but I'm also a Meals on Wheels volunteer. I've raced against the sport's biggest personalities, but I've never met more vibrant, amazing people than the seniors served by Meals on Wheels. As a volunteer, you deliver a hot, nutritious meal and a friendly hello to someone just like your mother, grandfather, or next door neighbor. These seniors are inspiring people with incredible stories to share, and they love to see you. The smiles you get back are priceless. Delivering with Meals on Wheels is easy, and you don't have to drive like me for it to be quick. You can volunteer your lunch break once a week or just once a month. With 1 in 6 seniors facing hunger and many more living in isolation, your lunch break can make a real difference. So, America, let's do lunch. Volunteer your lunch break at americaletsdolunch.org.
This message brought to you by Meals on Wheels America and the Ad Council.
Right now, our country feels divided, but there's a place where people are coming together.
I gotta tell you, I was nervous to talk to someone so different than me.
Me too, but I'm glad we are.
Love Has No Labels and One Small Step are helping people with different political views, beliefs, and life experiences come together through conversation, and it feels good.
Wow, your story is so...
Interesting?
Yeah.
When people actually sit down, talk, and listen to one another, they can break down boundaries and connect as human beings. At lovehasnolabels.com/onesmallstep, you can listen to amazing, life-changing conversations and find simple tools to start a conversation of your own.
I know one thing. This conversation gives me hope.
It gives me a lot of hope too.
Take a step toward bringing our country and your community together by having the courage to start a conversation at lovehasnolabels.com/onesmallstep. A message from StoryCorps, Love Has No Labels, and the Ad Council.
What is dedication?
The thing that drives me every day as a dad is Dariana. We call him Day for short. Every day he's hungry for something, whether it's attention, affection, knowledge. And there's this huge responsibility in making sure that when he's no longer under my wing, that he's a good person. I think the advice I would give is you don't need to know all the answers. The craziest thing was believing that your dad knew everything. So as a dad, you felt like you had to know everything. You had to get everything right. It's okay to make mistakes. As long as it's coming from love, then, it kind of starts to work itself out. I want him to be able to sit back one day and go, we worked together, we did a good job.
That's dedication. Find out more at fatherhood.gov. Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services and the Ad Council.
Everyone knows what kindergarten is, but have you heard of kindergarten and transitional kindergarten? Virtual learning where you use a morning meeting to do so? Well, if you look up Miss Delisha on YouTube with Morning Meeting with Miss Delisha, that is where you find it. Here, children can learn about their names, what their names start with, the letters, circles, everything that we learned in kindergarten growing up, the kids can do now and can do it with Miss Delisha. Just go to youtube.com and search Miss Delisha, and when you do, and you put your child involved in this, do me a favor. Tell them Snowman sent you.
Mister, how do you operate this Twitter thing or this Instagram thing or whatever the heck? You're supposed to know all this stuff.
Are you kidding me?
Did you not get the memo? Anyway, welcome back to the show.
Can't wait. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, slipped a little Bart Scott in there. The Twitter thing, the Instagram thing, the Pinterest thing, the Facebook thing. Official SIT Morn is the official ID. Speaking of tone deaf, actually we're off tone deaf. Got a few minutes before our next subject as the first one where we love dumping on Rodgers. Talking about Rodgers. As we know it, the Green Bay Packers are finished. Note the silence. All those thumps that you heard or those crashes that you heard are Packer fans' mouths going through the floor.
Let me see if I can guess the song that you're thinking at the moment. 1, 2, 3, 4. It's the end of the world as we know it.
That would be it.
It's the end of the world as we know it. It's the end of the world as we know it.
And I feel fine. It's the end of the Packers as we know it.
And you feel fine. That's cold.
I feel great. No more Aaron Rodgers. No more talk of Rodgers being a leader, which he never was. Note the immunization thing.
Leader of one.
Mm-hmm. No more takes of how great.
Oh,
you know what? I'm not going to say Devontae. I'm not going to put Devontae Adams in that sentence because Devontae Adams is a hell of a receiver, but he's going elsewhere. He is going elsewhere.
Yeah. Well, he read the tea leaves last year too.
I was ready to pin Lazard out of there.
Part of why he did not re-sign because he wanted to see basically what Aaron Rodgers was going to do.
Mm-hmm.
He basically saw how much of a clown show he was. And guess what they have not done? They still have not put to terms Mr. Adams.
And they won't either.
And it seems to me Devontae is going to seek being a wide receiver elsewhere.
And my follow-up question, as obvious as it is, do you blame him? I sure as hell don't.
No. I mean, I don't at all. I don't at all.
I'm going to put a scary thought in people. I'm going to put a scary thought in NFC teams' fans' heads. Imagine Devontae Adams in scarlet and gold.
Well, I mean, it would be a good fit.
It would be a wonderful fit.
I mean, the wonderful thing about him is that you can name any route that a wide receiver runs on the route tree. The dude can run it to perfection.
Yeah, and usually does.
Tough. It can make the catches across the middle.
Mm-hmm.
Can do go routes. He can get separation. I mean, he is a talented elite wide receiver.
You know who would pull him in the room right away and establish a relationship with him besides John Lynch and Kyle Shanahan? It would be Jimmy Garoppolo.
Mm-hmm.
Jimmy Garoppolo would yank him in the room in 2 seconds and go, look, I haven't been at my best because I haven't been healthy, but you're going to help us and I'm going to help you. Next person that would yank him in the room, George Kittle. Hey, man, you're a receiver for the 49ers. Look at history. They usually block.
Mm-hmm.
Next person to yank him in the room, Deebo Samuel. I got a few tips for you, my man. I know you're an all-pro. You're an all-star. We're going to get the show on. We're going to get paid, and we're going to win some Super Bowls. I'm in a musical mood.
I was thinking about this song, too.
I'm in a musical mood.
I was thinking about this song. As soon as you said all-star, I was like, oh, Lord.
And you wonder why I love having Cole Johnson on the show with me. The next person that would pull him in, every member of the starting offensive line. Mm-hmm. You got us, we got you.
We got you.
Because you know who they pulled in and said that sentence to? Jimmy Garoppolo.
Mm-hmm.
Next person they pulled in, Trey Lance. Guarantee you it's Trey Lance. When it's your time, young buck. You got us, we got you. But they're pulling Jimmy in and reminding him of that each and every week. Like, and Kyle Shanahan's reminding him of it.
Oh, I mean that reassurance needs to happen on that weekly basis. I mean, look, in the circles of which we travel,
mm-hmm.
you know, when you hear it even more than I do because you have more of your ear to the street when it comes to 49ers than I do.
Mm-hmm.
But
I've covered the team.
Yeah.
Officially, I've covered the team since 2000.
Right, but just even with my understanding of things,
mm-hmm.
people have wanted to get Garoppolo up out the paint ever since 2019.
Yep, when he took them to the Super Bowl.
Mm-hmm. And then they thought justified in their stance of, well, Garoppolo can't do jack when he was injured for most of 2020. So they're thinking, okay, well, Well, he can't throw for 5,000 yards. He can't even throw for 4,000 yards in the season, and he's fragile. Well, the 49ers don't need him.
Right.
Yet, the times that he has played more than 10 games for them, he has taken them no worse than an NFC Championship appearance.
Mm-hmm.
No worse. That includes this year. No worse.
2 full seasons he has played, 2 NFC Championship game appearances.
That's the worst he's done.
That's the worst he's done. That's the worst he's done. Okay? Which kind of matches Colin Kaepernick's record.
Right.
The difference is the difference is with Kaepernick, he was on his way out the door after 2014.
Yeah.
When they moved to Levi's Stadium. Jimmy Garoppolo comes in and says, "How can I help?" See, I wanted to hit this with Rodgers, and I'm going to make you smile from ear to ear, being a former offensive lineman. When you are coachable, you're a hell of a player.
Yeah. You're coachable, that makes you valuable. You don't believe me? Look at all the players that's on the team. If you know a guy is willing to take instruction, it doesn't matter if you play offense, defense, or special teams. If you know a guy's willing to take instruction, and it doesn't even matter the pantheon in which you are in terms of what the team thinks of you.
Right.
If they see you can actually be coachable, they see you can be coached up. If they see that you don't think that your stuff don't stink, and you don't think that you could stand to learn nothing else from anybody, then
they got your back.
Yeah. Because they feel as though they have a brother in arms in the fight. They feel as though they're in the foxhole with you. If you have that feeling as though you're above them all, you want to be the general,
they will back away.
They'll back away and they say, okay, all right, homie, let's see how you do this by your doggone self.
Saturday night told that story in Lambeau Field.
Yeah, that's how that is how they operate, and you're exactly right, sir. That is definitely how offensive linemen operate.
They want a brother in arms. Period.
Yeah.
They want a brother in arms.
Yeah.
All the great Super Bowl champions, multiple time Super Bowl champions, Patriots, Giants, 49ers, Cowboys. What's a common denominator? They stick together. They stick together.
And another common denominator, when you hear, especially offensive linemen, when you hear them, even defensive linemen to a degree, when you hear them talk about the quarterback that led them to the gold, they talk about him in glowing fashion.
Oh yeah,
and not
all
just
all the time,
and not just he's a leader of men. They do say that, but more along the lines of also, yeah, he's a leader of men, but he's like us.
Yeah, he's one of the guys.
He's one of the guys. And when we gave him suggestions, you know what he did? He took it and ran with it. Every one of those lines that you mentioned, that's the common thread they had.
I point to a rewind segment that you did on Super Bowl 24, January 28, 1990, Superdome, New Orleans, Louisiana.
The best performance of Joe Montana's career. Whew, man.
Every time his receivers or his offensive mates gave him a suggestion, he didn't know. He didn't put his nose in the air. He took it.
Let's go. Let's do it.
He took it, because there were a couple of times, even after touchdowns, that the receivers and running backs said, you know what? Next time we can do this. I saw this on this drive. Get a perfect example. First 2 touchdown drives ended in passes. Craig and Rathman came to him and said, now that we got them softened up, let's run their ass over.
Wide open.
And that whole third drive where they made it 20-3 was a lesson in heeding your teammates.
And let's get this completely out the way. Montana knew that offensive system from backwards to forwards, from the table of contents to the epilogues,
from front to back.
I would probably say that detail I would probably say starting in 1982.
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't say he knew it all in 81 yet, but he knew a lot of it.
Oh, man.
But I say about 1982, he knew all of it. So we're talking about 1990, 1989, January 1990. Man, he forgot more about that playbook than anybody, even on that offense, would know.
Even
and
with the tweaks that Bill Walsh and George Seifert would put in.
Yeah. Even with that, knowing that he knows, and I mean to the point like Peyton Manning, he knows he can call whatever play. He knows where the left guard should be.
Mm-hmm.
He knows the type of blocking scheme that the offensive line should be, and the footwork in which it would take for them to actually execute it.
Forward and backward.
Forward and backwards. This guy was detailed in knowing that.
Mm-hmm.
But for him to actually take that knowledge from a Jerry Rice saying, man, I could beat this guy all day.
Mm-hmm.
And just throw posts, or like you said, Rathman and Craig saying, we softened him up through the air, let's punish him on the ground.
And that third drive, it was all Craig and Rathman.
For him to be that knowledgeable of the whole offense, but to be that amendable to, okay, well, let's see how this works. Let's try this out.
Yep.
That endears you to the whole team. Because Montana did not act as though he was above the team.
Exactly.
He acted as though he was one of the team. And everybody in kind said, well, this guy knows what he's doing because he is the best that we've ever seen do it. And this guy, they'll even say to this degree, this guy actually will dip down to our level and do what we suggest.
I mean, he doesn't want champagne. He wants a beer with the guys.
Yeah.
He wants a beer. He wants a beer with the guys. All right.
And that is what really made him great.
Yep. Okay. We're a little behind. We got to go to a break. But in keeping with that, the rise of Burrow is very evident, especially after what happened Saturday. What's old Snowman talking about? You'll find out in a few moments. Snowman in the morning, back in the flesh. Everyone knows what kindergarten is, but have you heard of kindergarten and transitional kindergarten? Virtual learning where you use a morning meeting to do so? Well, if you look up Miss Delicia on YouTube with Morning Meeting with Miss Delicia, that is where you find it. Here, children can learn about their names, what their names start with, the letters, circles, everything that we learned in kindergarten growing up. The kids can do now and can do it with Miss Delicia. Just go to youtube.com and search Miss Delicia, and when you do, and you put your child involved in this, do me a favor. Tell them Snowman sent you.
The following is made possible by Dad.
Why was the basketball court all wet? Because the players kept dribbling all over it.
The dad joke. Corny, grown-worthy, but also one of the simplest ways to share a moment with your kids.
Why do you have to be careful when it's raining cats and dogs? Because you might step in a poodle.
And kids that spend more time with their dads grow up to be smarter, more successful.
Can I tell you a cat joke? Just kidding.
And with any luck, funnier adults.
Why didn't the skeleton go to the dance? Because he didn't have anybody to go with.
Dad jokes rule. So take a moment to make a moment and give your kid a laugh. It's as easy as going to fatherhood.gov. Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services and the Ad Council.
That's really funny.
Olivia from Washington. Laid off and trying to keep our little kids from realizing that mommy and daddy haven't eaten in a while.
Roger from California. I'm grateful we could afford our son's surgery. I'm nervous that now we can't really afford food.
Daniel from California. Choosing whether to pay the rent or pay to fix the car to get to work doesn't leave us with much at all. Now we can't even pay for meals.
Donna from Louisiana. The storm just hit, and we went from donating to the food bank to needing it.
Keisha from South Carolina. I've been skipping meals so my 2 kids can eat, but filling up on water doesn't really work.
Hunger is a story we can end. End it at feedingamerica.org. Brought to you by Feeding America and the Ad Council.
Excuse me, I know you have a 9 o'clock, so I'll keep this short. I'm the business suit in the back of your closet. You wore me nearly every day before your office went, quote, casual. I used to be the CEO of your closet. Now I'm just that one intern no one ever talks to. I always thought you'd circle back with me, get granular, keep me in the pipeline. But nada, nothing. Don't you remember the McKittrick presentation? You spilled coffee on me and I still looked amazing during the breakout talkback Q&A. So, I think it's time for me to move on. I've got a great resume and I absolutely crush it in interviews, okay? Let's make this a clean break. Shift the paradigm. The only thing I ask is that you think outside the box here and do this. Take me to Goodwill, where I can really make a difference.
Your donations to Goodwill create new jobs, training programs, and education assistance for people in your community. To find your nearest donation center, go to goodwill.org. Donate stuff. Create jobs. A message from Goodwill and the Ad Council.
Mister, how do you operate this Twitter thing or this Instagram thing or whatever the heck? You're supposed to know all this stuff.
Are you kidding me? Did you not get the memo?
Anyway, welcome back to the show.
Can't wait. Oh, yeah.
Joe Burrow got buried 9 times and still won. Talk about trust. The entire Cincinnati Bengals organization had trust enough in Burrow after their defense got what turned out to be the most costly turnover for the Tennessee Titans. Talking about a team that's at the end as we know it. And Burrow got them the yardage they needed for Evan McPherson to hit a 52-yard field goal at the gun. Love that. I love stories like that.
I could tie that into, it wasn't a playoff game, but it was a regular season game. I'll make you smile with this one. I could tie this into, and I think this was a 1988 game.
Eagles?
Yeah, 49ers was in Veterans Stadium.
89.
89, okay.
89.
I wasn't sure it was 80 or 89.
Vern Lundquist, the legendary Vern Lundquist had that call.
And I believe Montana, for the first 3 quarters, was sacked 6 times, right?
Yes, indeed.
And that offense was going nowhere. But that fourth quarter, for whatever reason, it seems as if the offensive line tightened up.
Mm-hmm.
And Montana threw for 4 touchdowns in that quarter.
In 10 minutes.
Yeah. and the reason why I shared that anecdote is there is a difference between a line that does not trust a quarterback, which we saw Saturday night in Lambeau, with the home team just basically looking at Rodgers make one bad read after another and being put to the turf time and again.
Time and time again.
And the game before, where it wasn't an offensive line that did not have trust in their quarterback. It basically was an offensive line that just, let's be completely blunt, they were overmatched. And that happens sometimes. You get an effort from a defensive front that just is out of this world, where you don't know if you're coming or going.
Right.
And that happens.
It does happen. It does.
And the game between the Bengals and the Titans, that is what happened. But they love Joe Burrow. And I say that with that type of measure saying, because just like that in the game in 1989 in Veterans Stadium, the offensive line to a man said, look, I remember when Joe Walsh was coaching us, and he said that we should not let anybody touch Joe. I'm sure the coach we have now in Mississippi is saying, don't let anyone else touch Joe.
Mm-hmm.
We have to take it upon ourselves to say no one's going to touch him. Because we know if no one touches him, what magic he's going to bring.
Yeah. So true. So true.
Fast forward 22 plus years later, that line has the same type of feel, and I believe, especially in that last possession, they had that same self-talk.
Mm-hmm.
All right, we have failed this guy because he has been put to the turf time and again. On this final drive, no one's going to lay a finger on Joe.
Mm-hmm.
Because he has the potential to put us in a place where this team hasn't been in 33 years. Let's do our job. And in that final drive, they did, because the Titans defensive front that was all in the backfield did not even come close that last drive.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
That tells you the power of Joe Burrow right there.
And the stronger that line gets, the better he's going to get. I mean, hell, he's got Cincinnati in a position they haven't been since 1988.
Oh my gosh, that's scary to think. If that offensive line gets better, and Burrow's ain't even close to what he's going to be in the NFL.
Nope.
And he already is a stud. Second full year in the league, dude's already a stud. But he still hasn't got to where he's going to get to. If that line was better, woohoo! You better watch out.
Wait till that line gets where it needs to be.
And he's already a history maker, already, because this franchise has been in existence since 1968.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know that this was their first playoff victory on the road?
Ever. Because when they won in 81, the AFC Championship in 81, both games were played in Cincinnati, in the jungle, as they called it, at Old Riverfront Stadium.
Mm-hmm. And the same was true in 88.
Mm-hmm.
And you think about the quarterbacks that have been there, chiefly Ken Anderson, Boomer Esiason, and Carson Palmer.
Mm-hmm.
None of them won a road playoff game for the Bengals. But in his second year with the team,
he's won a road playoff game. Mr. Burrow's won a road playoff game. So Burrow 2-0 this postseason. Win one at home against the Raiders, win on the road at the top-seeded Titans. And both of us said the top-seeded Titans were shaky as a number one seed.
They were.
Nobody wanted to believe us when we said that.
Yeah, they were.
No one wanted to believe us when we said that.
Now, I'll cop to saying I thought they was going to get past this game simply because I thought I had no trust and faith in the offensive line, and of course they proved me right.
Mm-hmm. It was justified, but
what I did not count on,
the nerve of the Bengals.
Yeah, and that's why I love that. That's why I love this team. What I didn't count on was I figured they'd be pumped that Derrick Henry would be back to Titans, but I did not figure that. And I have a whole huge pile of respect for Mike Vrabel.
Mm-hmm.
I did not think he would have a brain fart and not running Dante Foreman. I thought that he would see the fact that this dude was running all up and down the Bengals and would actually have the nerve to run the ball with him more,
right.
but only give him 4 touches. I'm thinking, man. So basically, he put the game in the hands of Tannehill. And if that were to be the case, and I had that type of knowledge, I would say, if that's the case, and the Bengals shut down the run or contained the run, which they did, Titans sing. The Titans are song.
Mm-hmm.
And that's exactly what happened.
Mm-hmm.
And credit to the Bengals, because they earned that one. They earned every bit of that.
Every bit of it. Given everything that's happened. Everything that's happened.
And Burrow led the way. And I couldn't have been happier to see that.
I love this young kid.
Yeah.
I love this young kid. In fact, every quarterback left in the playoffs, every young quarterback left in the playoffs, man, please.
I highly respect.
Same. Now, I'm going to lay something out there that you probably already know, and to borrow from The Rock that some of you may know. Why is the spread for the NFC Championship game 3.5 points? I swear to you that was the opening line. We talked about this yesterday briefly.
Yeah. I almost want to invoke The Rock here. just have somebody extemporaneously talk, and I just interrupt and say, it doesn't matter what the line is. I almost feel like doing that.
It really doesn't. It really
3.5, huh?
3.5.
Well,
that was the opening line.
That, to me, that shows that Vegas has a little more respect for the Rams than I think they should.
Well, you
already
know.
But they don't have enough respect for them to say, okay, we'll commit to the Rams being a true favorite.
Well, you already know what I think. Well, I don't want to say it like this, but I'll say think NFC Championship 1989.
You know, I figured when I saw the lineup for the day, my thought was first going to, okay, I know we're talking NFC Championship game between the Rams and 49ers.
Mm-hmm.
I'm getting the feeling we're going to be talking a little bit about the 1989 NFC Championship game.
Mm-hmm. In fact,
I would love
that'll be 2 segments later because I've changed the subject on the rewind. I've changed the subject on the rewind.
Oh, so you decided to bump it up 2 weeks before.
Mm-hmm.
Gotcha. Oh, no. I'll put it to you this way. The Rams in 89, they were totally overmatched. Totally.
Yep.
I can't fully say that about the 2022 Rams to the 2022 49ers. I can't say they're overmatched.
Mm-hmm.
What I can say is I really believe that the boy wonder, that's my affectionate nickname for Sean McVay.
Uh-huh.
He suffers from a huge amount of hubris because he thinks that his way is the best way, and he doesn't have what I respect in a coach like Bill Belichick, where he can just read the room and say, okay, whatever plan we have for this game and this team, we'll tweak.
Mm-hmm. Oh, Kyle's going to tweak. Kyle's going to tweak the hell out of this game plan, especially after what happened in Week 18.
Yeah. What upsets me about the Rams is they and I know people say, well, they didn't have Cam Akers until the wild card round.
Mm-hmm.
But they still had a bevy of running backs. They decided to run the ball at the Cardinals. And I'm saying to myself, this is the team, this is the style of play that this team needs to operate under. But what did they do 6 days later? Oh, they figured, okay, well, we're going to Raymond James. We're just going to throw the ball over the place.
They matched Tom Brady style instead of playing their own, instead of playing to their strength.
Right. Mm-hmm. And they almost, and I do mean this literally, they almost threw themselves out of the playoffs doing that.
Mm-hmm.
That is what ultimately frustrates me about the Rams, because this is a team that should load you up and run, bring the defenders in so that they can utilize as best as possible throwing over top.
Yes.
Because that's what they ultimately want to do anyway.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But what do they want to do? They want to at least do that at least 3 times a quarter.
Yeah.
Well, what good is that if the defense knows that is what you're going to do all throughout the game?
Yeah.
They're going to be prepared for it. Hence we go back to when they last played 3 weeks ago, where that's exactly what happened, the very last play of the game.
Mm-hmm. And they knew, and the 49ers knew they had to make adjustments after the first half. And Biggest mistake the Rams made, they allowed the 49ers to get points at the end of the first half. They allowed the 49ers to get points at the end of the first half.
Yeah.
Instead of 17-0 or 20-0 or hell, even 24-0, it wound up 17-3. Oops.
And that is the problem that I have with that's the problem I have with the Rams.
Mm-hmm.
They want to play too much, and they don't want to play the way that the way they're constructed to play.
Yep.
Oh wow, it sounds like another team that we talk about that's that way.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, you bounced them 2 weeks ago, and
yep, we sure did in their house.
And
in front of 93,000 maniacs.
Right.
In front of 93,000 cowboy maniacs.
And what is a beautiful juxtaposition. The 49ers, it doesn't matter if they're in a dome. It doesn't matter if they are in good climate weather. It doesn't matter if they're in the freezing cold. You know they're going to run. You know they're going to run the ball, and you know they're going to rush the passer most times with just their off defensive line. You know this about this team because they believe they are more physical than every other squad in the NFL.
Well, it's like you said. What are the two best things that travel in January? A defense,
running game, the pass rush,
and a running game.
Yeah,
a pass rush and a running game.
Yeah, because you can plot anything else you want after that. Whatever you want to do behind that pass rush that can get to a quarterback 5 times, and no, that's not an arbitrary number. That just seems to be how many sacks they have gotten the 49ers
in the last 3 games.
In the last 3 games.
Each of the last 3 games, they've gotten 5 sacks. 5 on Stafford, 5 on Prescott, and 5 on Aaron Rodgers.
5 on Aaron Rodgers. And we don't even have to look too far. All you have to do is just look 3 days ago. They didn't really do too many things exotic.
Nope.
Behind that pass rush. Not too many things.
Nope.
Not too many things.
They're just going to line up and come after you.
Yeah. You could do whatever you want after that pass rush if you consistently get to the quarterback and or get him to the turf. Conversely, on the other side of the ball, when you can run, you could dictate everything else.
And they're going to dictate a lot Sunday night.
And that's the problem that I have with the Rams. They can be bullied, and they've shown they can be bullied at different parts of the year. And the 49ers have actually done it in one half in their own house and a full game in Santa Clara.
Clara. Yep. 18 play drive to open the game. 18 play drive to open the game. And everybody who has watched the 49ers this year, be it 1 game or 5 games or whatever, they know there's a potential of a quarter-killing drive in the 49ers. There is that potential. It's halftime here on Snowman in the Morning. And when y'all get back, Sean Payton told us something. And if I were a Saints fan, I'd be quite scared. The second hour of Snowman in the Morning begins after this.
Everyone knows what kindergarten is, but have you heard of kindergarten and transitional kindergarten? Virtual learning where you use a morning meeting to do so? Well, if you look up Miss Delicia on YouTube with Morning Meeting with Miss Delicia, that is where you find it. Here, children can learn about their names, what their names start with, the letters, circles, everything that we learned in kindergarten growing up. The kids can do now and can do it with Miss Delicia. Just go to youtube.com and search Miss Delicia, and when you do, and you put your child involved in this, do me a favor. Tell them Snowman sent you.
What is dedication?
I am the father of a 9-year-old little girl and a 6-year-old little boy, and I find fatherhood both relentlessly challenging and relentlessly rewarding. My daughter is biological and my son is adopted. I love them both so much. From the morning when you wake up to putting them to bed at night, and every moment in between. It really is so special, and boy, is it exhausting. One thing that I fear about being a parent is the future for my children. I think a parent's job is to protect our children, but also prepare them for the world so they become good, kind human beings. But I'm also hopeful that the future holds a more inclusive and compassionate world for them.
That's dedication. Find out more at fatherhood.gov. Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services and the Ad Council.
If you came across someone struggling with hunger, how would you recognize them? By their clothes, their age, the way they speak? Would you notice a 16-year-old boy who got his first job,
not for extra spending money, but to help feed his little sisters?
Or a mother who's in between jobs
And sometimes goes to bed hungry so her kids can have dinner?
or a 14-year-old girl who signs up to every after-school activity, not to make friends, but just to get something to eat? Or a retiree who fell ill and had
to choose between getting medicine or groceries.
I am the 1 in 8 Americans who struggle with hunger. People you pass by every day but never knew were hungry. I am hungered in America.
Hunger can be hard to recognize. Learn why at IamHungerInAmerica.org. Brought to you by Feeding America, 200 Food Banks Strong, and the Ad Council.
The COVID-19 vaccines are starting to become available across the country. And as they become available, you may be asking yourself, should I get it? Will it help me get back to doing the things I love? Like going out to my favorite restaurants, meeting with friends in person, or going on vacation and traveling again? And can I do it all without putting my family and those I love at risk? And is it safe? You've got questions. That's normal, which is why it's so important to get informed. The medical community has made it clear. The vaccines authorized for COVID-19 have met the highest safety standards and can help protect us. Visit getvaccineanswers.org for all the latest information on the COVID-19 vaccines. That's getvaccineanswers.org. Getting back to the moments we miss starts with getting informed. It's up to you. A message brought to you by the Ad Council and the CDC.
Mister, how do you operate this Twitter thing or this Instagram thing or whatever the heck? You're supposed to know all this stuff.
Holy on smoke! Are you kidding me?
Anyway, welcome back to the show.
Can't wait. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I'm taller than the camera again. One quick adjustment. Just a minute. There we go. Second hour of Snowman in the Morning begins with a message from Sean Payton. He's non-committal about the 2022 season.
I want to say I'm surprised.
I'm not.
I want to say I'm flummoxed. I want to say that this comes as a complete shock. I'm not surprised, and I'm not shocked.
Sure.
And I say, yeah, and I say that because he got a lot of juice in being the head coach of Drew Brees. Got a lot of juice out of that.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, he's been pumped ever since he lured Brees into being a Saint. And we're talking way back in 2006.
Yes.
Until he retired last year. He was excited to have that partnership with Brees. Now that he
Aaron Rodgers, pay attention.
Mm-hmm. And now that Brees has transitioned on to being an analyst and a color commentator on NBC, Peyton, I think, got a chance to take a look at how life would be without Drew Brees. And I think he got a chance to see that it is not saying that he is a bad coach. He actually is a really good coach.
Hell of a coach.
He's a really good coach.
First year he had Brees took him to the NFC Championship game.
Yeah, he is a very good coach. And the guy is studious. The guy is hardworking. The guy is a grinder. Well, of course, you have no choice to be that way because he came from the Bill Parcells tree.
Mm-hmm.
So you had to be tough. If not,
the big tuna.
You had to move out the way.
you had to be a grinder if you worked under the big tuna.
Yeah. So he brought a lot of what the Big Tuna did to the Saints, and he thinks a lot of the way of Bill Parcells too.
Mm-hmm.
And I think he's starting to see, man, it's as if it's a little harder for me to get the message across that I want to get to my team.
Mm-hmm. It is.
And when you have the conduit to help you out, because it's more than just, to me, it's more than just the quarterback coach relationship in terms of X's and O's that he had with Drew Brees.
Mm-hmm.
He basically had, if you were to equate this militaristically, if Peyton was the general, then you had your captain in Brees, and basically when the general puts it down to the captain disseminated to the rest of the unit.
Right.
Well, that basically was what Peyton had with Brees. Well, he no longer had that captain. He no longer had the guy who
can relate to everyone.
Yeah, could relate to everyone and could, in player speak, say the same message that Peyton would say in coach speak. Now, of course, people thought that this would be Jameis Winston. Bless his heart. I hope he's healing as we speak.
I do too.
And I think he may not have had as much hesitancy because I believe he would have felt, okay, I think I could probably try to teach him the finer points of how to play quarterback.
Mm-hmm.
And I think he would feel as though he had purpose. When he was gone for the year,
it all crashed.
It all crashed, and he looked at who could be that guy, and he didn't see that guy because it's not Taysom Hill. It definitely isn't Trevor Siemian.
Mm-hmm.
And with Parcells, he was blessed by having a couple of people in his Giants stint, which would be Phil Simms on the offense, and of course Lawrence Taylor on defense, with a little help of Harry Carson that would sort of how can I say this, buffer.
Yes.
A lot. Buffer the message a little bit.
Yep.
But that part's missing.
Mm-hmm.
And when you don't have that, it makes coaching more difficult. And Peyton's getting up there in age too. So, he loves the sport, but
he's not going to burn himself out either.
He's not going to burn himself out. Exactly. So to hear this surprises me none.
Well, I'm going to try to lay a surprise on you, but I got the feeling I'm going to shoot a blank here.
Try.
You know who's interested in getting Sean Payton as a coach? Take a wild guess.
Okay, I've heard this has been a rumor for about 1, 2, 3, I think 4 years.
4 years. Mm-hmm.
And it would be, let me see, they wear white at home most of the time. They have a star in their helmet.
Mm-hmm.
The star is blue and the helmet is silver.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the Cowboys.
Sean Payton, like I said in my message some time back, if the Cowboys come calling for your services, just say no. Just say no.
I think he will say, if so, I think he will say no because this is the part I love.
For me, it comes down to a simple message of I don't want to deal with that mess.
Right. This is the part I love. So if you're going to be the head coach of the Cowboys, it comes with a whole lot of strings attached, and it definitely comes with two big strings that are hooked onto you from the press box in Jerry World. Because you basically have to be the mouthpiece of Gerald. Because he wants to have a puppet on the sideline.
That's all.
Not his own, not a guy who's his own man.
Mm-hmm.
Peyton is a guy who's his own man. He had to learn that from Parcells because Parcells would accept nothing less.
Exactly.
So I know Gerald Gerald feels as though, okay, well, Peyton has some ties to Dallas because I think he lives in the area. I know that I think he coached there for a little while when Parcells was there. So
yeah.
So there's some ties there.
There are.
And of course he's attracted to the fact that he has a Super Bowl ring too. The same reason as to why McCarthy's head coach there, because he saw former Super Bowl champion, come on board. But unlike McCarthy, Gerard would not like having Peyton there because Peyton would want to run his own team.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And Peyton knows that, and that's why he has not gone there yet. I don't think he will go there.
McCarthy's a puppet. Jason Garrett was a puppet. Dear God, Jason Garrett.
Because to me, the next coach there, I believe, is going to be Kellen Moore. But you didn't hear that from me.
You mean the next puppet there is going to be Kellen Moore?
See? Look at that. Climbing in my head. I told you.
What do you guys think? Is Kellen Moore the next coach, or will Sean Payton give the Cowboys a call? I already made my statement. Just Sean Payton, just say no. Please
say no.
Texas show 919-247-3622. That number is going to change February 1st. Just putting some pieces in place. But let us know what you think. Is Sean Payton, or will Sean Payton pay the Cowboys a visit? And both Cole and I are just saying out loud, just say no.
Yes.
On the first edition of Rewind, we go back to the year 1989 and a beatdown in the Bay. After this.
What is dedication?
I am the father of a 9-year-old little girl and a 6-year-old little boy, and I find fatherhood both relentlessly challenging and relentlessly rewarding. My daughter is biological and my son is adopted. I love them both so much, from the morning when you wake up to putting them to bed at night. And every moment in between, it really is so special, and boy, is it exhausting. One thing that I fear about being a parent is the future for my children. I think a parent's job is to protect our children, but also prepare them for the world so they become good, kind human beings. But I'm also hopeful that the future holds a more inclusive and compassionate world for them.
That's dedication. Find out more at fatherhood.gov. Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services and the Ad Council.
Everyone knows what kindergarten is, but have you heard of kindergarten and transitional kindergarten? Virtual learning where you use a morning meeting to do so? Well, if you look up Miss Delisha on YouTube with Morning Meeting with Miss Delisha, that is where you find it. Here, children can learn about their names, what their names start with, the letters, circles, everything that we learned in kindergarten growing up, the kids can do now and can do it with Miss Delisha. Just go to youtube.com and search Miss Delisha, and when you do, and you put your child involved in this, do me a favor. Tell them Snowman sent you.
These are the sounds of a dinner. But not just any dinner. A dinner that almost didn't happen. Because without food, it can't. A dinner now served, thanks to people like you. Due to COVID-19, 17 million more Americans may face hunger. Feeding America is helping our neighbors in need. And if you're able, you can too. Donations to the COVID-19 Relief Fund are being accepted at feedingamerica.org/coronavirus. Your help is needed now more than ever, and every dollar makes a difference. That's feedingamerica.org/coronavirus. On behalf of Feeding America and families nationwide, thank you. Brought to you by the Ad Council and Feeding America, 200 Food Banks strong.
He flew fighter jets in 2 wars and taught you how to drive a car. He fed everyone on the block, but never shared his secret recipes. And every time he'd tell a story, he'd own the room. But now more than ever, he may feel alone. Today, older adults and their loved ones are struggling to connect in a time when connection has never been more important. But there is something we can do. Embrace our older loved ones through StoryCorps Connect. With StoryCorps Connect, you can honor seniors remotely with an interview about their life. Every interview will be archived at the Library of Congress, becoming part of American history, so that years from now, future generations can listen in.
All right, Grandpa, what's one piece of advice you have for me?
Just 3 words, sweetheart. Live with courage.
The man that had the best stories still has plenty of stories to tell. So connect virtually and share the conversation of a lifetime at StoryCorpsConnect.org/AARP. Connect, honor, share. StoryCorps Connect. A message from AARP, StoryCorps, and the Ad Council.
Mister, how do you operate this Twitter thing or this Instagram thing or whatever the heck? You're supposed to know all this stuff.
Are you kidding me? Did you not get the memo?
Anyway, welcome back to the show.
Can't wait. Oh, yeah.
Ryan at Verderada, 49ers Insider, will join me at the bottom of this hour as we get you ready for the NFC Championship between the San Francisco 49ers and the Los Angeles Rams. And speaking of 49ers and Rams, this is the first time they met in a playoff game since 1989. Scene of the crime is Candlestick Park in San Francisco. I don't have a rewind sound effect or video bumper yet. Working on that. Flipper Anderson had a wide-open pass thrown to him by Jim Everett. Ronnie Lott raced over to the spot and knocked it away, forcing the Rams to settle for a field goal. That would be the only points they score that afternoon, as the 49ers put 30 unanswered on the board and won going away 30-3. 21 of those 30 came in the second quarter. A touchdown pass from Montana to Brent Jones got them on their way. Then Roger Craig crashed in from a yard out. And then an 18-yard Steve Reich from Montana to John Taylor. And I still say John Taylor belongs in the Hall of Fame. Made it 21-3 before the half closed. 3 field goals by Mike Kofer closed out the scoring. Seifert gets dumped with Gatorade, and the 49ers win the NFC Championship at home 30-3. Will it be that much of a pounding this Sunday? We don't know. But like my partner said, I really don't want to say the Rams are overmatched on Sunday because they do have a good offense. They do. They do.
Yeah.
But why do I get the feeling that Matt Stafford reminds me of Jim Everett? Am I climbing in your head again?
Well, I mean, you think about it. Statuesque presence.
Mm-hmm.
A guy with a huge arm.
Mm-hmm.
A guy that's touted to be one of the best in the game.
Yep.
And a guy who has the penchant to make huge mistakes with that arm and decision making.
Yeah. And he had a record-breaking receiver on that squad. Jim Everett did. Flipper Anderson.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And conversely, even though Cooper Kupp is that guy at the moment,
mm-hmm.
the guy with the talents of a Flipper Anderson would be Odell Beckham Jr.
Yes.
So, yes, all of that pretty much is a good indicator of, this piece could fit.
Mm-hmm. Oh, and someone just asked me, what is Flipper Anderson's first name? Willie Anderson.
Yeah,
Willie Anderson is his first name, but he was known by Flipper because of his speed.
Mm-hmm. Right.
But see, Flipper Anderson was that deep receiver.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. Cooper Kupp is a possession receiver.
Correct.
Tyler Higbee is Tyler Higbee.
Mm-hmm. He's a chain mover.
He's a chain mover, absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
But they ran into the 49ers at the wrong time. I mean, let's go back a little further. Let's go back to the record-breaking game in Los Angeles, or Anaheim in this case, in 1989.
Mm-hmm.
What game am I talking about? Monday Night Football. 49ers and Rams. Stakes on the line.
Classic.
Division title. for the 49ers. They had a chance to clinch the division title and at the same time clinch the number 1 seed in the NFC. Well, thanks to one of my favorite receivers of all time, who I say loudly again should be in the Hall of Fame, Mr. John Taylor, 49ers wiped out a 17-point deficit and won 30-27 at Anaheim Stadium. And why do I keep bringing up John Taylor? Because John Taylor had not one, but 2 90-yard touchdown passes. Or touchdown receptions, I beg your pardon.
Receptions. Mm-hmm.
The first one came in the second quarter after the Niners stopped the Rams on a goal-to-goal situation. The Rams tried to fake, and Michael Walters said, "You gets nothing and like it." 3 plays later, Montana flips the field, and Taylor flips off the Rams. He literally didn't. As he's cruising into the end zone, as Jerry Rice is blocking. Jerry Rice became the second receiver that night.
Yep.
Then, 10-point game in the fourth quarter. And they stopped the Rams again. The Rams actually, Jim Everett actually fumbled the snap, and Matt Millen dove on it. The next play was a 96-yard touchdown reception by John Taylor. Made it a 4-point game because Mike Cofer missed the extra point. But on the ensuing possession, Ron Brown got knocked in the shoulder, coughed up the football. 5 plays later, 49ers stick it in the end zone, and they're up 30-27. They stop the Rams, get the ball back after a punt, and who sealed the game that night? Oh, yeah, John Taylor.
John Taylor.
And the great Al Michaels said it best. You can put it in ink. He said all the 49ers need is a first down, and as soon as Montana hit John Taylor, Al Michaels said you can put it in ink.
Now, let me translate this to today's NFL fan. Now, if you were to see the stat line of John Taylor in that game, the stat line of Jerry Rice in that game, and for you to understand it. So Taylor in that game, 2 touchdowns, of course, as you just mentioned, 11 receptions, 286 yards.
Yes.
Jerry Rice, 5 receptions, 38 yards, no touchdowns. You all would basically say, well, is Jerry Rice elite? Well, it don't show it here. You all would go to those extremes that fast.
Oh, in a blink.
Overreaction. Yeah, in a blink. In overreaction theater, that's exactly how you would do it.
Mm-hmm.
And then of course Montana, 30-42, 458 yards, 3 touchdowns, 2 picks. You look at that game and say, okay, well, fantasy football wise, that's kind of cool, but he threw 2 picks. I guess he ain't the greatest of all time. That's how you all are, because that's how you were Tom Brady Sunday.
Are you trying to make the fire coming out of my ears? Are you trying to turn me into what my wife calls me, a dragon this morning? Listen,
you hear this stuff.
I've heard it for many a moon.
Right.
I know. You know I hear all this stuff. I still hear it.
But I'm just squarely speaking to the overaction theater personnel.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah,
because that's how they would think,
and that's still how they think,
and it's still how they think today. What sucks about that is that it robs you all of actually appreciating something to this effect. This game was played in December, 11 months before. Taylor had 1 reception for a touchdown. Of course, that was the key reception for a key touchdown, because that was the touchdown that brought the 49ers then their 3rd Super Bowl.
And that was a game winner.
It was a game winner. Rice was the MVP, 11 receptions, 215 yards. Now, this is 11 months later.
Mm-hmm.
You clowns would say, well, I guess Jerry Rice must be a step slow, and he doesn't have the ability to catch the ball anymore, because he was the go-to guy of Montana. But now here it is. This year is John Taylor. Well, think this way now, and it robs you the ability to appreciate the fact that Rice then was an absolute stud.
And there are some people. Let me climb in your head a minute. There are some people that still to this day actually think Jerry Rice is not all that.
Yeah. But 1,549 receptions basically shuts them up.
Mm-hmm.
Along with 22,000+ yards receiving and 197 receiving touchdowns and 3 rushing touchdowns. But I digress. Look. And that is off the top of my head, ladies and gentlemen. I'm not even looking at those stats.
Nor am I.
Montana.
I watched every year Jerry Rice played with Montana and later Young. Trust, I know those numbers like the back of my hand.
This right here robs you of understanding what football's about. Montana, and I said this earlier in this show, knew the playbook backwards and forwards from the table of contents to the epilogue. And he knew that the Rams were keyed on Rice.
Yes.
He knew that.
Yes.
You know what he did? He took advantage of that and said, well, heck, if it's going to be one-on-one, John, it's your show tonight.
Mm-hmm.
As long as you were one-on-one, it's going to be your show tonight. And you know what John said? It's my show. Bring it to me.
Mm-hmm. Jerry Rice knew that. Jerry Rice knew that.
Yeah. And you know what Jerry said? Cool. As long as it's a W on this board, that's all I care about.
Jerry Rice knew that.
Yeah.
Jerry Rice was blocking his ass off in that entire game. Every time Brent Jones, Roger Craig, Tom Rathman, every time they got a reception on the run, who's out there blocking? Jerry Rice.
And Brent Jones had a good game in that game.
And Jerry Rice was a hell of a blocker.
That's a part of the game people do not talk about with him.
He was that was the key to the West Coast offense.
Yeah.
If you're a wide receiver, you had to be willing to block downfield for whoever got the ball.
The willingness to block downfield.
To whoever got the ball. All right. We got a break. That's our edition of Rewind. If you want to sponsor the show, contact the show by dropping an email to snowmaninthemorning@gmail.com. That's snowmaninthemorning@gmail.com. 49ers insider Ryan Adverderada is coming up next, and we're going to set the stage for the NFC Championship. Too bad it's not in Levi's Stadium, but we don't care. We're Road Warriors. Right, Rams? Back after this.
If you came across someone struggling with hunger, how would you recognize them? By their clothes, their age, the way they speak? Would you notice a 16-year-old boy who got his first job,
not for extra spending money, but to help feed his little sisters?
Or a mother who's in between jobs and sometimes goes to bed hungry so her kids can have dinner? Or a 14-year-old girl who signs up to every after-school activity, not to make friends, but just to get something to eat? Or a retiree who fell ill and had
to choose between getting medicine or groceries.
I am the 1 in 8 Americans who struggle with hunger. People you pass by every day but never knew were hungry. I am hungered in America.
Hunger can be hard to recognize. Learn why at IamHungerInAmerica.org. Brought to you by Feeding America, 200 Food Banks Strong, and the Ad Council.
Everyone knows what kindergarten is, but have you heard of kindergarten and transitional kindergarten? Virtual learning where you use a morning meeting to do so? Well, if you look up Miss Delicia on YouTube with Morning Meeting with Miss Delicia, that is where you find it. Here, children can learn about their names, what their names start with, the letters, circles, everything that we learned in kindergarten growing up. the kids can do now and can do it with Miss Delicia. Just go to youtube.com and search Miss Delicia, and when you do, and you put your child involved in this, do me a favor. Tell them Snowman sent you.
There's the snap, high snap, placement made, kick end over end to the uprights, and it is good. The San Francisco 49ers advance.
This is the end of the game.
With a 13-10 victory over the Green Bay Packers on a 45-yard field goal by Robbie Gould as time expires. A gut-wrenching, heart-breaking defeat.
There's a little high pull down by Wisnowski. Robbie Gould has it away, and it is good! Robbie Gould has kicked the 49ers to victory here in Green Bay.
The golden leg of Robbie Gould going to an NFC championship game.
That was the clip I wanted to play yesterday, but I had some technical difficulties. Again, thank you to Cole for getting those to me. And also, please help me welcome Mr. Ryan at Verderada, Full Press 49ers. He's on the phone right now. Ryan, good morning.
Good morning. How's it going?
I'm doing good. How are you, my friend?
Honestly, I loved hearing that. That was awesome again.
So, you excited about Sunday night?
It is a weird feeling from, a couple of years ago to today, and there's an excitement, but it's also like the feeling is, you know what? Everything after this is just kind of a gravy. It's just everything is just kind of nice. I'm just gonna watch it and enjoy.
Yeah, same. You came to me after we dropped to 3-5, and I can just feel and see the worry on your face, even though we spoke by phone. And I remember you asking me, are you still as confident in this team? Well, your question was, what do you think of this team with all the struggles we're going through? I answered you with a simple sentence, and I said, see you in Los Angeles. And I can hear your mouth go through the floor, and you're going, you're that confident in this club? I said, just watch. They'll fix everything up, and they'll turn it around. And the nerve that they're playing with right now is that no one thinks we can do it, so why not do it?
Yeah, I mean, like, this team it's like they reached a point where it just became, we're healthy enough, and everyone doubts us. Let's just go out there, do our job, and if we win, great. If we lose, well, no one's really considering us to do anything special anymore. So let's just do it for each other. That's what it feels like right now.
What do you think is the key game that turned it around for San Francisco?
Oh man, there's I want to say there's a couple of them, honestly, but I honestly think it was that loss to Tennessee that really flipped them, because yeah, they went on a bit of a winning streak, but it was against some weaker competition.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously when you play the Rams and you can kind of get back on a winning streak, I think that kind of got them a little bit of their mojo back. But I think when they lost the way that they lost to Tennessee on that, I think it was a Thursday night game, and just kind of losing that game when honestly they should have just completely dominated that game.
Mm-hmm.
I think that kind of gave them a weird sense of, you know what, we can pretty much beat anyone. We're only beating ourselves. And I think that kind of became something where the defense kind of figured themselves out. And I mean, since then they've just been defensively amazing, and offensively they've done enough to stay out of the defense's way and just put enough points on the scoreboard and do just enough to win. And honestly, that's all you need to do. You just need to find some way to win, and it doesn't matter if you don't win pretty. It just matters if you win.
Cole, you and I talked about that very same game the next day where the 49ers lost to the Titans, shooting themselves in the foot so many times. And without even asking, I could just hear you. I could just see you looking at me going, okay, what do you think? Say something, because you were breaking down all the numbers. And I said, we have the potential to run the table, get into the playoffs, and make a lot of noise.
Yeah. And my thought process was basically right there. They had that game. They had the game in Nashville.
They did.
But the problem The problem I had was, okay, it looks like I'm seeing too many mistakes being made from Jimmy Garoppolo. He has to tighten that up. And if he can, I believe this team can run the table. And I don't mean just the regular season.
Mm-hmm.
They actually can go all the way into playing in SoFi, I thought for the third time, but now I have to say for the fourth time.
Yeah.
Because I really believe that they had the ability to go to Super Bowl because their pass rush is solid and their running game is solid, and they don't go away from either one of those identities.
They really do not. Ryan at Verderada joining me here, courtesy of Full Press 49ers and Full Press Cardinals. Check out fullpresscoverage.com for his work. We're talking 49ers and Rams NFC Championship game. Basically, we're talking about the 49ers since the game in Nashville. And I identify that game, but I also identify Week 18, where Ambry Thomas sealed the game with an interception, Ryan, to send the 49ers not only to the playoffs, but as it stands right now, they're in the NFC Championship game. Talk to me about your thoughts about the second half of that game, knowing that the Niners needed some points at the end of the first half, which they got, to make it 17-3. And then the second half, they just came out smoking. Talk to me about the second half of that game in SoFi.
Yeah, it was obviously, for every 49ers fan, for anyone watching that game, period, it was just a weird game. It looks like the Rams were about to just completely, blow the brakes off of the 49ers, and then it just seemed like they just kind of had one little stumble if you're looking at the Rams, and then the 49ers were able to just, again, do just enough to get some momentum back at the end of the first half, and then it just became like a complete turnoff for both teams, where the 49ers looked like the team that was looking to win the division, and the Rams were playing not to lose. And I think that's what it came down to. I think at halftime, and they've talked about it since then, where it became kind of a like, look, we got at least another half of football left in the season. Let's just go out there and do our thing and see what happens. And it just looked like one team was throwing everything out there, and that's what they've been doing the last 3 weeks, really, and just throwing themselves out there and just saying, okay, you know what, let's see let the chips fall where they may, and we're just going to go out there. And that game was just, I'll be honest with you, at one point I think I walked out of the house to go run a couple errands, and then I'm listening to the game, and then I get back in time to see, basically the fourth quarter and all of that drama. And then the fact that you had someone like Ambry Thomas, who at the beginning of the season was just being like lampooned by the fan base and some of the media, and then seeing him just getting so much better and better throughout the rest of the year, and then having him, it wasn't a lucky play when he made that interception. He was with the receiver step for step, and he looked back and tracked the ball, and he was able to pull off of the route, and he made the interception. So, I mean, that was kind of the epitome of how the 49ers went in the regular season.
Yeah.
They started off horrible, a lot of potential, and then they suddenly found themselves, and now look at them. They're basically, one win away from another, from playing basically twice in 3 weeks at SoFi.
Yeah. And the scary part about it is there's going to be all kinds of narratives, gentlemen, about the Rams. It's going to be all kind of narratives about the Los Angeles Rams in hopes that they break this spell that the 49ers have on them. And Cole, you said something to me even before the playoffs started against the Dallas Cowboys. You basically said, let them paint the narratives. Let me come to Cole first with this. It's like, let them paint the narratives. They don't expect us to win anyway. So what we build is all house money in the first place.
Yeah, I mean, they had nothing to lose at all. And even though this parallel seems strange, I look at how the team was 2 years ago, where they did have home field advantage, and they basically had the ability to just steamroll over everybody.
Mm-hmm.
There was still that doubt of, this team, I think they have all the pieces, but it's incomplete because of number 10. So they still had that thought process of, well, they don't have the dynamic quarterback. Meanwhile, their quarterback in Green Bay I think they can knock out the 49ers, forgetting the fact that the 49ers own the Packers. But the thought was, well, this team is incomplete because of the quarterback. 2 years later, we still have that same issue with the 49ers in terms of perception. This team is incomplete because they don't really have a quarterback. Yet, just like those 2 games in 2019, the playoffs, and so far the 2 games in this year's playoffs, this guy just keeps winning. And it is exactly this. They run, they pass rush, they do not steer clear of it. And they have each other's backs. All you have to do is look at Saturday night.
Absolutely.
And that's proof right there.
Absolutely. Ryan, let me get your thoughts on that narrative. With Garoppolo not playing great Saturday night, but his teammates backed him up, and he led him to the winning points. Why is there a negative narrative still on Jimmy Garoppolo?
Honestly, I think it just comes down to, when you lose the game the way that team did at the end of the season and a couple years ago in the Super Bowl, the way that they lost. And then it becomes, okay, well, the media and the fans have to look for something to talk about moving forward. And it instantly became, the weakest link on that team. And I would still say today is the quarterback position. Now, at the same time, that collapse was its own, thing that we can always dissect for years and years. But when you're looking at this team, and you kind of mentioned it right at the end before you came to me, was that, for all the mistakes that he seems to make or people want to talk about, at the end of the day, he led a scoring drive in those elements late in the game to not just, put them in position, but basically, like they converted, I think 2 or 3 third downs where there was like 3rd and 7,
Big
3rd and
ones.
5.
Big ones.
Big third downs and big conversions. Not just that game, but they did it. They did it with the season on the line, week 18. They did that on I can't really call it on the road, but they did it in a game against the Rams where the season's on the line, and they did it again. So, I mean, this team is as good as it can be when he's playing well enough. You don't need him to be playing lights out. That's one of probably the biggest, benefits of what the 49ers can do. I think they're the only team left in the playoffs that can win, even if their quarterback doesn't have his A game.
Yeah.
But I mean, when the chips are down, you can tell the players, they support him. They have his back. They don't seem to quit. Like this 49ers playoff run right now is kind of epitomized by how Jimmy G is as a quarterback. You never see him flustered. If he gets irritated, he seems to just let it go right after that, and he's willing to go right back out there and try to win a game. So, I mean, I think they're really behind him, and I honestly think that with everything and the way that people have kept talking, this team has their back. They feel like, the world is against him, and it's a good little piece of motivation that they have going with them right now.
Ryan at Verderada, 49ers insider, and Full Press 49ers, the man in charge of Full Press 49ers on fullpresscoverage.com, joining us here on the program, talking all things 49ers and getting us ready for the NFC Championship game on Sunday night. Good to have you, my friend. Hope to have you back a lot more often.
No, definitely, man. Hopefully it's going to be a good game. I'll be honest with you. I have not watched a game live. I've been listening to them. So I'm a very superstitious person. So I will be listening to that game on the radio, and I will be probably off shopping or something to get some of the stress going.
So Greg Papa's and Tim Green's going to be in your ears on KNB. Yeah, KNBR has the call. Greg Papa and Tim Green will be on the radio call for the 49ers. Thank you, buddy. Appreciate the time.
All right, you guys take care.
You too.
I don't mind listening to Greg Papa and Tim Green. Oh, Lordy. Greg Papa helped bring us a victory Saturday night. As you guys heard coming in. That was the clip I wanted yesterday that I put together, courtesy of Wayne Larrivee and the Packers and Greg Papa and the 49ers. Now, let's just wrap this up and tease some people for tomorrow, because tonight, the Major League Baseball Hall of Fame class will be announced. Guess who's on that list for the final time?
That's a few. I thought that was on the list for the final time.
The biggest name on there is Barry Bonds.
But yeah, I was about to say, I thought it was a few.
Mm-hmm.
Him, I thought it was him, Roger Clemens.
Roger Clemens.
Gosh, it's another name, but it's slipping my mind. Oh, I don't know if Sammy Sosa's name is on there, but I thought it might be on there. But yeah, the biggest name to me is Bonds as well. Yeah, I agree.
We got that tomorrow. And, of course, y'all already know what else we have tomorrow.
Yes.
And to tease that a little further.
Okay.
I was perusing social media.
Oh, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, what BS did you run into?
In particular, I was perusing YouTube.
Okay, what BS
did
you see?
What BS did I see and hear?
Mm-hmm.
People actually think this Lakers team, I beg your pardon, can flip a switch and turn it around.
Yes.
Now, I'm going to sit back and let you do your tease for a good 120 seconds. But yeah, there's a lob from Magic to Cooper, to use Laker lore.
Yes. Oh man, this makes me feel so good because it just it lends itself to all of I've been saying.
It writes itself also.
It does write itself. I mean, because I told you, Lakers Nation, you've let one figure ruin your franchise. I told you this.
And you expertly have said that since he got there.
Mm-hmm. You let one figure ruin your franchise. And basically because your fan base was hungry for a championship, you embraced that figure with open arms, and now you stink with that residue. How do you like it now?
Ever hear the fable of the scorpion and the frog?
It's been a long time since I've heard it.
Hey, frog, carry me across the river. Hell no, you're going to sting me. I promise I won't sting you. Yeah, as soon as he gets on his back, what happens?
Oh, gets stung. Mm-hmm. I thought you said you weren't going to sting me.
I lied.
I lied. I'm a scorpion. That's what I do.
I can't help myself.
Mm-hmm.
I can't help myself.
Mm-hmm. Beautiful. Beautiful analogy.
A very popular YouTuber did that to the tune of the Tennessee Titans and the Green Bay Packers, which I absolutely adored.
That's beautiful.
So that's on the docket. Yes. We got a little more NBA conversation on the docket. Hey, Brooklyn Mess, I got a question for you. How's that part-time player doing for you?
You gotta stand with me, you're a part-time player. See what I can be, you're a part-time player. You get no victory from this part-time player. No.
I remember when we made that. I remember when we made that analogy the very first time, and you burst out laughing because I climbed in your head again.
Yep. And I'm like, Stevie, I hope you don't hate me for it, but it just fit. It just applies.
It does. It does.
Oh my gosh.
Okay, here's another question that I'm going to tease for. Are we going to see Ben Simmons at all in any uniform? My answer is no, because who wants the damn headache?
I don't have
said this
Oh man,
several hundred times.
If I had a tin cup with a quarter that I could put in it, that'll be the only time you will see Ben Simmons in the foreseeable future. Because he would be begging for bread.
He's already begging for bread.
Oh my god.
He's already begging for bread. The hell with that. He's already begging for bread. And what's bad, he doesn't know he's doing it.
No.
We've heard nothing about Ben Simmons for a month. We've heard nothing about Ben Simmons for a month.
Well, you got to remember he's healing
from what?
From having. Well, remember he's having mental health issues. He's healing.
Can I translate that?
Please translate away.
Can I translate that? You mean he's healing from having no balls?
Nail on the head.
He's healing from having no balls. You can't heal from, you know what?
Yeah.
Let me go ahead and say it. You can't heal from that if you never had him in the first place.
I was going to say, it would be a problem if he had any. Yeah.
You mean to tell me, and same goes for Kyrie. I understand what people are talking about. It's your body, it's your decision. Hell, I got the vaccination and I still caught the damn virus.
More power to him. Yeah.
Yeah, more power to him. Exactly. But Kyrie, you're a member of the New Jersey Nets. I'm not seeing Brooklyn mess anymore. You're a member of the New Jersey Nets. You are contracted.
The fact they're from Brooklyn.
And the reason I'm supposed to give 2/5 of a half of a damn?
How you reel them off so quick?
I'm emptying the clip each and every morning, okay?
2/5 of a half of a crap. That's
2/5 of a half of a damn. Okay? Why am I to give 2/5 of a half of a damn about either of those two players when neither of them have no balls to compete?
Oh, and the NBA's excited tonight too because we get to see the two biggest soap operas face off in Brendan Byrne Arena, Barclays Center.
You said it right the first time, Brendan Byrne Arena, although Brendan Byrne Arena would be embarrassed to have that.
Oh man, the Lakers
Brendan Byrne Arena would be embarrassed.
The Lakers are the Nets tonight.
Why?
Oh boy. Well, at least look.
Why?
Be happy. Be happy. They only
I'm going to be
2 times in a year.
You know why I'm going to be happy?
This is their second matchup.
Because my ass is going to be in bed when those two hit the floor.
I would love to say I would be. Unfortunately, tip-off is 7:30 Eastern.